Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where each Tuesday, your host, Rick Sayes, gathers around the mic with outdoor industry entrepreneurs, brand leaders, founders, and enthusiasts to share stories from the backcountry, the startup files, and the retail aisles. Rick's guests offer actionable advice to land your ideal industry gig, grow your outdoor career, or plan your next big adventure. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. And now, here's Rick.
Welcome back, everyone. Today on episode 348 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, Houdini Sportswear Head of Brand Engagement and DTC Sales, Niclas Bornling, tells us how an odd band of scientists, artists, designers, and adventurers are pushing the boundaries of how outdoor clothing is made. Welcome to the show, Niclas.
Oh, thank you so much, Rick. It's great to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun conversation. As we were just chatting, I don't know much about Houdini, and I don't believe we've ever met at a trade show. You guys are still pretty new, so I'm going to learn a lot, I think.
Yeah, I hope so, Rick. And you're not the only one here in America that doesn't know anything about Houdini, so you're in good company.
Good. Well, we'll get them all learned up and get you some more exposure. So let's start with how you got into the outdoors. How'd that happen?
Like a lot of my stuff in my life, I've had a lot of luck. I always keep telling people that I've been stepping on a bunch of banana peels and kind of slipping and then landing somewhere and just having a bunch of luck. So my story is, I'm from Sweden, West Coast, Gothenburg, the home of Volvo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I actually grew up sailing a bunch, which is kind of what you do in Gothenburg. We've got the archipelago, we've got the Atlantic Ocean coming in, and so that's what I did in summertime. And in wintertime, I was skiing like most other Swedes. Lots of Swedes go cross-country skiing. My thing was more downhill skiing. And I got into that through my dad. So it's a bunch of skiing, bunch of sailing and all that kind of stuff. And I did not know what I was going to do when I grew up. I remember actually my dad sitting me down. So I come from a family where my dad was an engineer. He was a naval engineer.
Oh, wow.
He built ships. And my stepmother is a doctor. So
wow.
I come from that. You got that little pressure.
Pretty
right?
powerful backgrounds there, right?
Right. You got to study. You got to get an academic education behind you. So my dad kept on asking, kind of inserting those questions every now and then at dinner and going like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And after a while, I sat my dad down and said, listen, Dad, I really don't know what the title is or even the business, if it is business that I'm going to be doing, but I do know exactly how that will feel like when I do that thing. And that's sort of really typical of me because I'm led by feelings and intuition and stories and things like that, whereas my dad is like 90 degrees. So this is how it works and Newton's law, that's it.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
He just looked at me. I could see in his gaze that he kind of respected what I said, but he had no idea what it meant. So I actually went to business school in Gothenburg just because that's where everybody of my friends and my sailing partner that I was sailing with at the time, he went to business school. So I was like, all right, I go here. And I was lucky again because I was ranked amongst the top in my class sailing in Sweden, and which gave us at the time, it's no longer the case, but so you could like apply for whatever you wanted to study, as long as you got into any school, anywhere in the country, then you could just select where you wanted to study that topic or that subject. So that'd be like getting access at a unknown college community in some godforsaken place of America and then going to Harvard.
Right.
Pretty sweet deal.
That's a sweet deal. Yeah, that's amazing. That's very cool. And that's for everybody, anybody, that just is available to anybody.
That was athletes. So if you were a high-performing athlete at the time, you were given these opportunities. And so went there 2 years. You do your micro and your macroeconomics, your statistics, your law and all that stuff. And I barely passed the exams, didn't really know what I was doing there, wasn't really interested in money. or finance or any of those things. And then during the weekends, I was working at this sort of menswear, women's wear, fashion, streetwear stuff. And this is the beginning of the 90s. That's how old I am, by the way.
We're probably the same, yeah.
Oh, there you go, Rick. There you go. And I was selling a bunch of Diesel jeans. I don't know if you know the brand.
Remember those? Yeah.
Well, they kind of came up at the beginning of the 90s, and I was noticing these really cool people that came into the store, and they all looked like they knew something, that they had something in common, and they were building these what was called little corners, like actual shops with Diesel stuff, and it looked custom and cool and all that stuff. And I was like, I need to be a part of this thing. And they were throwing these cool parties during the weekends, and I just didn't understand what was happening, but I thought it was really cool. And at the end of the second year in business school, I had my first class in marketing, sort of brand building. And my professor walked into the room carrying a Gibson guitar and a quart of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. And I was like, what's he going to do?
Where am I?
Right. He was telling a story even before opening up his mouth.
Sure. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And he started talking about what we're going to talk about and look at and learn and study and stuff. And it just exploded in my brain because I realized that what was happening with these cool kids around Diesel was there was a method to the madness. They were doing something. They were building a brand. They were creating demand. They were connecting, and we're connecting to people and communities and stuff like that. And ever since then, the idea of a brand has been pivotal to me. It's much more than a job. I look at the world through the lens of a brand, basically. So I started working in a little ad agency. One day, I slipped on another piece of banana peel. Somebody called me up and had my resume lying around in some headhunter's desk or something. And they're like, would you be interested in a marketing position for a company called Salomon? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, so a job like that exists?
Yeah. Dream job. Hello.
It's like Salomon was storied already at that time.
Yeah.
I'd been skiing and snowboarding for my whole life, and obviously I knew everything. And I went to an interview, met the leadership for Salomon Sweden locally, and I just loved it. And they called me up the same afternoon and was like, that was fun, wasn't it? I'm like, yeah, that was really fun. Okay, so do you want the job? Let's go.
Wow,
so I got
cool.
the job, and I started out as a marketing manager at Salomon locally in Sweden. And then this is at the time that Salomon was owned by Adidas.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So it was already an interesting matrix going on with multiple brands that were interacting. We owned TaylorMade golf clubs and Bonfire snowboard apparel, and we hadn't acquired Arc'teryx at the time, but it came later. So I did that job for 4 or 5 years, and I remember the first time they sent me down to HQ in France, in the French Alps. I landed at Geneva airport, and I got a cab, and it drove over the mountain pass, and it came into this place called Annecy, which is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. It's a alpine lake, green, with mountaintops on both sides, and right there, really close to the lake, is the Annecy Design Center, which is where the magic is created at Salomon. And I was like, holy shit, I gotta go here. I want to be here, and I want to be part of where the thinking and the strategy and the brand is being built. And after about 4 years, I was like, I gotta get here. Can you get me in? And somebody believed in me. I was the crazy Swede that had done ads with old skis that had hung themselves in an attic, leaving a farewell note to the new and fun skis. Was I so unruly and boring and stiff? Insanity. I could never do anything like that, and because I'm too old and I've been around now. But at the time, I was just a rebel, and they brought me down, and I stayed for 10 years. Adidas sold Salomon. Amer bought Salomon. We acquired Arc'teryx during this period of time. We made wingsuits. We had a surf project called Escort for a mountain sports brand from the heart of the French Alps. Crazy stuff happened there, and it was very formative. I had a great time, and that led me to meeting my wife, who was from Portland, Oregon, at a sales meeting in Chamonix. And at the time, I was starting to think it's probably time to do something new. And there comes my wife, and it's like proposing a new idea of a life. And I got recruited to Black Diamond Equipment in Salt Lake City, which was made simpler because I was married at the time to my wife, and which meant that I could get a green card and work in America.
Right.
So I spent some time at Black Diamond, had an amazing time working with Peter Metcalf, who's obviously one of the more integral people in the US alpine climbing outdoor industry, big proponent for public lands here in America, specifically in Utah, Bears Ears, Staircase, and I, as a Swede, that was important for me because there is basically no such thing as private land in Sweden.
That had to be a foreign concept, but you gravitated to it, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, just understanding public lands versus private land and all that stuff. And, Black Diamond came out of Patagonia, or let's say it came out of Chouinard Equipment, right? And it became later on Black Diamond, and understanding the origins of alpinism in America through Yvon Chouinard and Peter Metcalf and that crew of people that were still there when I joined. We were launching apparel, so people from Arc'teryx and the North Face and Zalmon and Patagonia came in to launch apparel, and I truly believed that if there was any brand in that space that could succeed in soft goods apparel, it would be Black Diamond. So had a wonderful run at that, and then I felt like shit. Now I've done 15 years, even more than that, almost 20 years in the outdoor industry. It's time to do something different, and I got lucky again. And I don't know how I did this, Rick, but I managed to convince my wife to move to Western New York, to Buffalo.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was this hat company called New Era Cap that makes all the fitted 59-50 baseball caps and has done that for like 70 years or something. And it's American sports, right? It's football, right. It's baseball, it's basketball, and it's Spike Lee and JC and hip hop culture, and just like very contemporary culture all mixing together in a cap. So I was like, I got to do this. So I ran marketing there for a brief period of time. Didn't really work out all that well for us in Western New York. So I did a little stint in Silicon Valley to just understand if there was any kind of meaning behind all the startups and the VC-backed companies in Silicon Valley.
What did you do in Silicon Valley? What did you do there, sir?
I worked at this startup company called Rilo, which was an action cam, basically.
Okay.
That shot stuff in 360 degrees and then stitched it seamlessly together. But the real magic in the product wasn't the hardware. It was the software that stabilized footage through an algorithm. So this guy, Alex Karpenk, very creative genius in that world, come in from Instagram, and together with another guy, they created this company. And he said, I think that I can calculate where every pixel should be if the camera would be level and stable.
Wow.
So you shot everything, you'd be bombing down a mountain bike trail and everything's shaking like crazy. And then you just flip the switch and the algorithm calculated where they should be, and it just became super flat. It was a real innovation and a lot of fun, but it didn't take GoPro very long to basically copy that whole thing. And now we were competing with GoPro, which you don't want to be doing in that space. Nobody's succeeded in doing that. So we try to reposition the whole camera and the company to be a non-action sports piece. And that led us to pivoting, which that's what you do in Silicon Valley. You pivot, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Now we're going to be only an app, a video editing app, and you can shoot stuff on your iPhone or whatever. And then all of a sudden we were bought by this company called Visco, and the company just disappeared.
Interesting. So you seem driven. A lot of the brands you've worked with and companies you've worked with, you were driven by the culture, and coming from what your parents were doing. Where do you think that comes from? Why are you inspired by the culture versus, because your parents had pretty high, powerful roles and jobs.
Adventure.
Adventure. Okay.
I mean, this is I'm going to thank my dad for this, because he gave me a sense of adventure and really living life. And it's a very different thing for an American. If you compare that to a Swede, it's a small country far up north with 10 million people. And if you want to have any kind of opportunity of working in a global setting, you just got to leave. You just got to leave Sweden and see where it takes you. And that's what my dad did. And he always promoted that idea.
That's cool.
And as soon as you start realizing how important it is to understand, I'm going to say differences, which really at the end of the day is similarities, right? How much we share. And if you learn languages, you can assimilate, and you can start actually getting a much better understanding of how similar we all are on this planet. That led me down to ideas and understanding how people think, which at the end of the day is going to be the root of all good marketing, right? It's storytelling.
Yep.
It's how we transfer knowledge. It's how we give our kids a future by telling them stories. And it's what we've been doing for millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years, right? And I truly believe that good marketing is great storytelling. So I don't know if that answered the sense of adventure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Storytelling. And
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I think you're right. Storytelling is, you can do so many things with a great story. You can inspire, you can educate, you can motivate. I mean, it's just fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome. And so you've been with Houdini for almost 2 years now. Tell us about Houdini. As I said, I'm unfortunately unfamiliar. I should be more familiar. But like you say, only 2 years. There's not a lot of history there yet.
Well, not with me, but there is a lot of history to Houdini actually as an enterprise. It's been around for quite a while. Actually, it started in the mid-90s in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of like a two-pronged history. It has the first period of time with a female founder who's a mountain guide, who created a company where she made products that didn't exist in the marketplace, specifically for women who are mountaineering, climbing, and stuff like that. But the company basically went bankrupt and disappeared. And then in the beginning of 2000, it was reawakened again by another two women, Eva Karlsson and Hannah. And the thing is that this is full circle for me, because I've actually never worked for a Swedish company in my whole career.
Oh, really?
And that starts by the end of the 90s. So it's a long time. But I met this woman, Eva, at Salmon, and we were launching apparel at Salmon in the beginning of 2000, and we needed people that understood that space. And so we brought in Eva. She came from Patagonia. She'd been running Patagonia's business in Scandinavia at the time. And we worked together for a year and a half or so, and we got to know each other and stayed friends forever. And when she left, she bought the remains of Houdini together with Hannah Lindblad. And together they resurrected the brand and put a very specific twist on it, which is to be a leader in the sustainability space in the apparel world, not just limited to outdoor apparel, but to the textile industry in general. And Eva is this very visionary, no compromise, hardworking woman who has created what is modern day version of Houdini and has done that for the last 20 years. And
cool.
It's a well-known company and brand in Sweden, and it has conducted business outside of Sweden for quite a while. It's actually been around here at Backcountry for quite a while, and for the last 5 years, we've conducted business with REI and Moose Jaw and Paragon Sports and you name it. But it still stays a pretty niche thing. And right after the pandemic, I'd left Keen Footwear, and Eva called me up and asked me if I finally should do something together. And I was like, it's a really good opportunity, because I'm a father of two kids. I got 2 boys, 3 and 8, and I can't keep on just selling stuff any longer. Even though I got to say, like all of us that works in the outdoor industry, I think what we're doing, whatever we're making or selling or marketing, it's for something good. It's for healthy activities. And the closer you get to nature, the better understanding you get of nature, the more respect you have of it and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of selling stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. There's still, at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
There is too much stuff, and honestly, I can't sit by and just watch this thing. And here comes Eva and Houdini with a very particular vision on overconsumption and minimalism, just having the stuff that you need and building an essential wardrobe with a almost completely circular product offer already now. And I'm like, I gotta be a part of this, because I gotta be able to tell my kids that I tried to do something for them and the planet, something that is actual and real. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years.
That's awesome. Good on you guys. That's what drew me to I forget how I connected, but it was like, wow, I got to get you guys on and share the story, because it's a great story. It's just that as I get older, and I apologize to my niece and nephew all the time. It's like, hey, sorry, we're doing the best we can, but we can always do more. And so your website says you're an odd band of scientists, artists, designers, and adventurers. So is that odd, different in personalities, or different and then you're pushing the boundaries of how outdoor clothing is made, or maybe both?
Yeah, it is both. And I think the whole idea of an odd band is that we're not an average outdoor brand. And quite frankly, I don't think we even look at ourselves as an outdoor brand, because it is too limiting already there. And odd in the sense that whether you are a climber or a chef or a mom and dad commuting by bike, it doesn't matter, right? We make apparel that you can use for every aspect of your life. And so we're quite different in that sense.
No, you're very different.
A little bit, so odd. And I love that. I mean, I love I love odd people.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it too. I kind of gravitate towards odd people. I don't know if I'm sure I'm odd. We all have our oddities in our own little ways and things like that. But yeah, it's cool. And I like the folks that do this are the more creative, and somehow that thinking it gets outside the boundaries quicker, right? I'm probably a very linear, boundary-oriented thinker, and sometimes get caught up in that. Whereas some of these folks, creatives and whatnot, they get outside those boundaries quick and come up with some cool shit really fast. And I love that. So I love that odd band of scientists and artists. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that, I mean, it's important to be a part of a community, obviously.
Yeah.
I truly think that that's essential. But, just the idea of that I belong to one community it means that I don't belong to other communities. And there is a certain aspect of exclusivity to that. It gives us meaning and belonging. But I mean, as a person, I believe that this world should have no borders at all, right? And we should be able to sort of communicate and live together, whatever background you have. And I think that's also really Houdini's case, right? We will not make something that only works for you running on a trail, because what that means is you have to have another jacket, if that's the piece that I'm referring to, that you can run on asphalt or uphill or downhill or climbing or living or picking up your kids from daycare or working like I'm doing right now. Because if you do that, you perpetuate overconsumption and you build out a very inefficient wardrobe. I would rather that you had 10 pieces and those 10 pieces will work for all of those things. That is really difficult to do. And it's difficult to design those products, right? Because how is that going to work out? Do you have to make compromises? And we do not want to make any compromises. They need to be great for everything.
Yeah, it's got to be a huge challenge. Also, in the quest to recycle and rent and repair and reuse, that's got to be challenging too. Which of those is the most challenging? Just trying to get stuff that's recyclable? I mean, I imagine there's plenty of materials and things these days, but starting out years ago, it wasn't.
It all has its challenges, obviously, right? There aren't many systems set up to conduct business in a different way than take, make, and sell. So anything that you introduce right now or have been that is a new business model is going to be challenging. However, I think that the most challenging of them all is going to be rental, which is funny because a rental for skis and snowboards and stuff like that seems to be the norm, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
But rental for a $600 three-layer shell jacket does not seem to be part of anybody's expectations, and whereas it should be, because how often do you actually use $600 shell jacket that's made for skiing? It's rare. So we should be more interested in renting. So we've introduced it as a pilot project since a couple of years back. It's limited to Sweden at this time, and we're learning from it. But it's challenging because it's about changing people's behavior. As a small company, that's a very tricky thing to do. There needs to be critical mass out there, and otherwise you won't change the behavior. Like, people just don't want to consider renting a jacket for some reason, or a pair of pants. But I think it's coming. There's a whole host of new, what we call circular business models that just keep stuff in circulation for a longer period of time. Mm-hmm. And it is going to come, but we're breaking ground, and this is definitely not a profitable thing for us to do, but we're going to do it anyway, because we think that it could be one of the future solutions. Yeah,
no, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a right thing to do. Obviously, I think once people, our generation is still, we take our clothing and our apparel and our footwear very personal. And I think as younger folks come up and realize that it can be washed and repaired and totally clean when you get it, they'll be more accepting of rentals. But until we get there, it might take a while. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come. I mean, my wife rents stuff from Rent the Runway online, and so it's going to come to our space as well, for sure.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Which of those is the most rewarding? Recycling, renting, repairing?
Reuse.
I think. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is a corporate statement by any means from me right now, but it's my personal preference for, short-term solutions to the environmental crisis we have is to keep stuff in circulation for longer. The long-term solutions to circularity and natural fibers and things like that are certainly extremely important. But right now, what we can do as citizens and users is to just use our stuff longer and more. And when we feel like we've used it enough, then make sure that somebody else gets the opportunity of using it even longer, right? And that's beautiful.
Yep, that's very good. Yep, I think you're spot on. We're a use and throw away society. We got to get away from that. We got to just keep using it and passing it on. That's terrific.
Take, make, and throw away.
Yeah, that's what we do. You're right. Yeah. We're going to take a little break and give some love to our sponsor, Grammarly. If you write as much as I do, it's nice to have a little backup with the spelling and grammar, and I use Grammarly. Their instant grammar checker corrects all grammar errors and enhances your writing. To try it out, go to ricksays.com/grammarcheck and get signed up today. You can thank me later. That's ricksays.com/grammarcheck. Now back to the show. So you just achieved that 100% recyclable fabrics for this season. How repeatable is that? Is that going to be an annual thing, or is it going to be obviously depends on the things that you use, but how's that going to look moving forward?
We'll continue doing. Once it is achieved, there's no turning back after that, right? You can't go backwards in it and introduce the virgin polyester fibers, for instance, all of a sudden. That would be a big no-no. So we will continue doing 100%.
And then once you find a new fabric or material that you want to bring into the line, you'll make sure that it's 100% recyclable, renewable before you put it in the line, I would imagine. Yeah. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And are there any other brands that have achieved this? I'm not familiar with any other brands that are doing this. Are you guys first to pull this off?
I honestly don't know, Rick. There are a bunch of other great companies and brands that are doing very good things out there. We've got a company in Sweden, a small one called Klättermusen. I'm not even going to try, but it means basically the climbing mountain, that has been doing great inroads. There is I believe, French company called Picture Organic that has been doing a lot of good stuff. Patagonia for a while. I just don't know their numbers, so I can't say if they've achieved it or not.
Yeah, I'll have to do some research on that and figure that out. Yeah. What are the most difficult materials to work with related to recyclability?
Well, you've got two ways today. Mainly you either go with a polyester-based fabric or you go with an on our organic natural fiber. And there's a lot of different natural fibers. So obviously you have wool, you have tencel, which is a wood-based sort of fiber, cellulose fiber.
Eucalyptus,
You've got
right?
hemp. Sorry?
Eucalyptus, I think, right? Tencel?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Actually, I don't dare to even come close to asking that question, but it's definitely made out of wood. If you've had babies and you've changed a lot of diapers, then you most likely use diapers that were made out of tencel.
Mm-hmm.
You've got hemp that is getting more and more interesting right now. Cotton is a natural fiber, not a very sustainable way of making it, though. Currently, it takes a big toll on the planet's resources currently. So you got these two different ways of doing it. It's more expensive to go down the natural fiber path. There's no question about that. And maybe that's one of the reasons why that would be a tricky one. But we do it, and a lot of other brands do that. Polyester is easy to come by. It's rather cheap. And it doesn't mean, I just want to state this, that you should not make polyester the devil. Because it isn't. It has a lot of very good propensity. It's one of the lightest fibers out there. It works really well to transport heat, water, and stuff like that. As long as you don't use virgin polyester, because that's the key, right, at the end of the day. But there are plenty of ways of acquiring recycled polyester, either mechanically recycled or chemically recycled. Because as long as you keep that fiber in circulation, it's okay. And I guarantee you, we have enough polyester on this planet to keep us going for thousands of years.
I can only imagine. Yeah, there's lots of that out there.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack a little bit and tell our listeners about Blue Sign Certified. What's that mean?
Well, Blue Sign, I believe, is a Swiss company, a Swiss standard that originated, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was an effort to eliminate harmful and toxic substances, mostly chemicals, from the full supply chain. So it would protect not only us as consumers, but also the people that are working with it and the planet itself. So Blue Sign, you go to Blue Sign with your fabric and your product, and you ask them, has this eliminated all the harmful substances that are listed or not? And they will do an analysis for you, and they will prove it if they think that's the case. So it gives us as users and consumers out there a way to judge whether or not this is good for us and the planet and the people that are working with it.
Help us make better decisions when we're buying products. That's right. Yeah. You got any exciting projects you're working on that you can share with us?
Well, I mean, on my end, I'm mostly a brand person. We've got something really exciting that is going to launch pretty soon, actually. So I can't tell you exactly what it's called. But
don't give away any state secrets. Yeah.
All right. No, I want to have the surprise, and I'd like you guys to log on and check out our space about 1st of October. But we're this unknown entity that is trying to make inroads here in the US. And I think one of our biggest challenges is that even if you may have seen our product or you may have seen our logo, to know what we stand for and what we are about is more difficult. It's like one of those onions that you just kind of peel layer after layer after layer, and the further in you go, the more you start crying, I was about to say. but the more interesting it gets, right? And I thought about this analogy when I started out working at Houdini. I was out walking with my, at the time, 1-year-old in a stroller, and I was walking around the neighborhood here in Portland, and I walked past this house that I knew was designed by this architect that also has designed the Nike campus down the road from where I live.
Okay.
Bob something, can't remember his last name. And so I'm into architecture, and I'm interested in that. And I stopped and I looked at this thing, and I was like, this is kind of like Houdini. If you understand, you'll stop and you'll get it, and you want to find out more. Mm-hmm. But you otherwise you'll walk right past his house.
Yeah.
Because there's no signs of you saying, hey, come here, enter, and you'll find out more. But this particular house had a red door. The rest of the house is obviously going to be gray, right? Mm-hmm. Dark gray of some tone, modern architecture sort of thing. But it had a red door, and I went like, shit. Like, even though I wouldn't know anything about the architecture who designed this house, I would still stop because it had a red door that just said, hey, come knock on the door and come inside and you'll find out some really cool stuff. And what we were missing, I think, was a red door at Houdini, something that can quickly give you a, hey, this is what we are and this is what we stand for, and you don't need to spend more than 60 seconds. And after that, you'll probably want to find out more. So that's what I've been working on together with the team in Stockholm for the last, 9 months or something like that. And it's come down to 3 words, and it's come down to a creative output. We've worked with some very talented creatives out of London on a film, and 3 words that basically synthesizes and summarizes our belief for the future of this planet.
In October, we'll be able to learn that.
Yeah.
Cool.
1st of October.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's very exciting.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I love that stuff. I think it's fun projects to work on, and that's got to be a blast. Kind of very inspiring, too, I'd imagine.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Rick.
Yeah, very cool. So let's shift gears a little bit. How often do you get outside?
Well, I get outside walking the dog at least once, twice a day.
Right.
I don't get to do as much outdoor activities as I used to do. I mean, when I lived in the French Alps, I was every day almost something, go for a trail run or a ski during the weekends, and spent pretty much every weekend in Chamonix with friends and athletes and professional athletes that we were working with. Today, if I can go and get a mountain bike ride in once per week in summertime, get out and sail, maybe do a regatta every 2 to 3 weeks or something, then I'm a lucky guy.
Very cool.
So that's what it looks like nowadays.
Yep. We all get busy. I'm the same way. Yeah. Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks looking to get into the outdoor biz?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to bang down doors, right? The thing is, we all get pinged on LinkedIn, and sometimes you may get an answer, you may not, but do not stop. That's the whole thing. Like, don't give up. If you want to work for Houdini, keep sending me LinkedIn messages and tell me why. Show me your passion. I'll probably make the time to have a call with you eventually, right? But LinkedIn is a tough one because you get cold called so much with somebody with the title of a business developer, and it's tricky. But do not ever give up. I mean, if you want to be in the outdoor industry, there's one word that comes across that goes before everything else, and it's passion.
Yeah.
Passion. You got to show that passion, and we will listen. The people in this industry that we've been here for a while, we will certainly listen. And if there's anything that we should care about, it's the next generation and the next generation after that. So do not think that we're not listening or looking. We are. We may not have the time right now. So send me another one in a week. Tell me what you did. Tell me why you like marketing and building brands, and we will listen.
That's good advice. Yeah, we're all so inundated these days with everything. But you're right. Just keep banging on the door. It's going to open at some point.
Right. Or you bang down the door.
Yep. Or get directed to another door, which opens. I mean, that's the other way. This is such an interconnected industry that we work in. It's great. People are very collaborative. So you never know. Even that door that you think you're beating on, it's not going anywhere. It's going to open something else later. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Keep it up.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and people have probably already said this. I mean, it goes without saying, but you may not be able to get your dream job out of college. And in fact, I don't think you will. You got to take whatever you can get, wherever that is. Starting in retail is a damn good first start.
Great place. I agree. Yeah. Yep. Like Seth Godin said, just get in and make a ruckus, and it'll turn out to be a great career after 10, 20 years. It's fantastic.
Yep.
What's your favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100?
That would be nothing. No, but I mean, the reason why I'm saying that is because I don't. I mean, of course, you're going to need some gear that is not going to be super expensive. But I mean, if you look at what we offer, we don't have very many things below $100, and that's just because if you buy stuff that is that cheap, I'm not sure how long it's going to last, and I'm not sure how good it is for this planet. if it's cheap. I mean, the outdoor industry needs to avoid ever getting anywhere close to what has happened to fast fashion.
Right.
Overall, we need to be a counterweight to that. We need to offer other solutions and other ways. But I can guarantee you, if you go out and buy a $200 mid-layer, that thing will last you 100 times longer.
Lifetime, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, that'd be my answer, Rick.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. That's good. That's a good answer. I wasn't necessarily, I think when I wrote the question, thinking of apparel, but it depends on what it is under $100. There's some good stuff, gadgets out there that are, but you're right. It's whatever you spend your money on, make sure it's going to last you. You only have to buy one of them because, as we've talked about, God knows there's more stuff out there, plenty of stuff out there. How about some of your favorite books? Are you a big reader?
I used to be when I had the time, and I'd love to get back at it, but yeah, I've got some favorite books for sure.
Give us a couple of them. What are they?
Well, I'm going to have to say The Old Man and the Sea.
Oh, good.
I can't avoid that. And then I read this book some years ago. I got caught by the title. It's called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Another good one, yeah.
I love that book. And it was one of those like moments where I'm like, actually the title of something and the cover of a book does really matter. Because I had no idea what the content's going to be of this book. Picked it up and read it, and it turned out to be one of the best books I've ever read. You got that, and do you know Shantaram?
Yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah.
Long book, but man, what a great story. Holy cow.
What an adventure.
Yeah.
What an incredible adventure this guy had in India, I believe, right? Bombay.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Cool. Well, we'll link to those in the show notes. And is there anything else you'd like to say to or ask of our listeners before we wrap up?
Well, I was thinking about that a little bit earlier, and yeah. So before you go ahead and buy anything, really anything, I mean, primarily from the outdoor space, obviously, but anything, you could actually go and use. Our designers that work at Houdini created a checklist a couple of years ago. And that checklist is a set of questions that you basically have to answer yes to, or we won't make it.
Oh, cool.
And it's really applicable to me and you and to anybody, really. So before you go on and make this purchase, ask yourself these questions. Does this product deserve existence? Right? I mean, basically meaning, do I really have a need? Will it last long enough? Is it versatile enough? Will it age with beauty? And nothing's been added that isn't needed, right? Is it easy to repair? And for us, this is probably specific to us, but is this durable enough so that it could be used in rental? And lastly, does it have an end-of-life solution to it? Does the company that makes this product give you an idea of what to do with it when you've used it enough?
That's awesome. We will definitely. Do you put that on a little card or anything, or put it in some of your apparel? That's a great.
Yeah, we do sometimes, and it's on our website. Actually.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, we'll link to that, and we'll put that on the show notes too. That's fantastic. Well, it's great catching up with you and meeting you. I look forward to meeting you in person one day. Where can people find more if they'd like to follow up with you?
Well, Instagram would probably be the best place, or LinkedIn. We're actually really good at answering to people that contact us through either of those two channels.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if you're like, I got to speak to this crazy Swede Niclas, then they'll forward it to me.
Gotcha. We'll link to that stuff in the show notes too. Yeah. Well, I love what you guys are doing. I look forward to learning more and seeing some products, and keep up the good work. And I'll catch you at a show or on the slopes or in Portland. We'll grab a beer in Portland next time I go see my sister.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, trade show is probably going to be the place, Rick, right, where we probably may have even bumped into each other at this point. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those trade shows get pretty crowded. Yeah. Well, thanks for the time, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you'll find show notes with links to everything we talked about and more. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, If you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or spread the word and tell a friend about the show. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week. And thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rick Sayes.